Welcome to Play With It with Cass Allen. As y'all already know, we're heavily in the dating pool, talking about the many facets of it. Today's no different. Huh. Today we're going to talk about anniversaries that take place during the dating season. Some of y'all forget to talk about this stuff, as I mentioned in past shows. The things that matter to some, even if they don't matter to you. Do you want to be with someone who is really into anniversaries, or are you more the laid back type that doesn't like to celebrate stuff like that? Is that even a point to consider while you're dating? Like, what do anniversaries mean to you? Some people end up in situations where they get in a lot of trouble because they're not matching their mate's idea of, celebrating an anniversary. Blah, blah, blah never does this. Blah, blah, blah never does that. Blah, blah, blah doesn't pay attention. Blah, blah, blah. And the other person's like, blah, blah, blah is way too fucking in the dates. Blah, 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 like celebrates the stupidest things. Blah, blah, blah gets on my nerve. It really is that Venus Mars conversation, even if it's the same sex sometimes, because you just have different values that you place on things. There are people out here that have been dating for years. There are no rings on anybody's fingers, and like they're just not in a position necessarily to go to another level, and maybe they don't want to, but they have days that mean things to them. Some people believe in celebrating the first day they laid eyes on someone. This is when my life changed. This, when I met you. Some people believe in celebrating the first kiss as the anniversary. This is when we tied the knot, or whatever you want to call it. Others believe in celebrating the first date. Some is the first dance. Some is the first time I gave you some monkey ass. And there are people out there who celebrate all those damn dates in one person. They're celebrating the first week they've been together. They're celebrating, oh my God, we're at our first month mark. Now we're at our 2 week mark. Now we're at our, this is the first day you told me you loved me. There's so many dates that have value to people. I try to respect what matters to someone else. It might not be the same date that I necessarily remember all the time, like we be saying, charge it to my heart. No, you're just not into the same dates, necessarily sometimes. You're so busy trying to remember the stuff that matters to you that sometimes you might forget some of those things. I'm not making an excuse because we all should be making an effort, to recognize those things that matter to our mates. That's without question. Um, but think about that stuff. I be telling y'all ask this shit on dates. Do you celebrate anniversaries? How many people have you been with? Like, what dates matter to you? What do you like celebrating? What dates? Find out. Are you the person that only got to remember 2 or 3 days, or do you have to remember 37 days per year? Because so many things. This person is a damn emotional butterfly, and is very sensitive and remembers every little thing, and wants you to partake in those things. Things like that happen too. Are you the type of person that's willing to do that? To remember 37 damn dates in 12 months. Basically, remember three shits a month. Excuse me. Y'all get what I'm saying. These things might matter to you. Are you sensitive like that? Do you want that type of responsibility? Or you just want somebody you can crawl into the woods with, and that's it. You, me, our together. And that's it. Nothing else to talk about. Y'all get my point. And talk about these things, like I said, these are things I've heard throughout my life, things I hear people complain about or have concerns about. These are all the things I'm talking about in this dating pool. All the things y'all need to fucking ask then, instead of in hindsight being upset because, your package is not what you thought it was. You know, you know what I'm saying? You see an F and an A on the package and you think it says Facebook. You don't even read it. You just grab it and start running with the shit. And when you look at it, what does it say? Nothing like that. It says something like fat dummy, and that's not a shame mark. That's simply saying we don't pay attention. A lot of times to what we getting. We so busy running with it that we're not thinking about what's really going on, what the core ingredients are, the characters. You feel me? And that was my part on the Facebook versus the fat dummy. You're not looking at the letters. You're not looking at the characters. You're so busy running because you think you know what you see when you don't. Find out the type of gifts this person likes. Maybe y'all don't match the same bank. Maybe this person wants things you can't afford. Maybe this person wants to give you things you think are stupid. And I'm not saying a relationship is laid out and you got to know all the details of what's coming. But don't you want to get an idea, even if this stuff doesn't quite pan out the way that it's described? This person has 37 fucking days in a year they celebrate and they want gifts from you and they don't want cheap stuff. Don't you think that's something you need to know? I think so. So if you're one of those people that have requirements like that, put them shits on the table. Don't let somebody start liking you and then as you got all these expectations just based on your own fucking head, and then when it's revealed that this person pocket can't match your dreams, you be like, yeah, talking about the person, oh, that nigga ain't got no bank, whatever. Why you shaming somebody because of something you didn't take the time to find out besides before you decided you wanted to play? Now you want to talk about somebody else who can't afford these anniversary gifts you want. Or did you take the time to find out what this person makes at work? Because that alone would tell you they can't afford your ass half the time. I don't care if I have on $600 sneakers. Maybe you make $8 an hour. Find out. Because if that's happening, these sneakers are not from my paycheck. And if they are, you need to have some concerns. Why I was willing to invest 5 paychecks in a pair of sneakers. Should be your concern when I'm eating at such a low poverty rate. That's how you find out things about the people you're around. Ask them what types of gifts they like to give. I personally don't need expensive stuff, but if you get me something expensive and it's functional and aesthetically pleasing and you can really afford it, I'm not going to decline it. But it's not something I seek. Some people do seek that though. As I told you, I've dated women with money in the past, and they some of them have demands. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm expecting you to be able to do. The more money they get, the more they're willing to tell you. If you ain't got shit, leave them alone. You know. But if you're not in a situation like that, ask. So you know if your pockets can even afford to play rendezvous. Dating can go on for a long time, especially if that monkey sex is good. That monkey ass is slamming, you can hang around. And usually nothing's free except every now and then, a walk to the park. Well, how many times you doing that before you got to start buying gifts? I love you, flowers, candy, dates, jewelry. Most people get involved in it. The act of gift giving. You want to show people that you like, yeah, I like you, baby. Or, that sex was amazing last night. Or, let me buy you a negligee so you can wear this next time. Or, let me buy you this cute little dress so when we go out. Or, let me buy you this watch, so you can look good next to me. Gifts are a part of dating. So, are you able to afford gifts? Are you dating someone who defines caring about them by gifts? Some people do. If you're not buying me anything or not paying me any attention, you're not getting any monkey ass. Sometimes that's a prerequisite. Can your pockets afford what your mind desires? without you getting your feelings hurt and accusing someone of being high maintenance just because you can't afford him or her. As y'all know, I've said in the past, be honest with your own pockets. Can I play this game? Because, there's somebody that makes more money than the person that you're calling high maintenance, that thinks that person is low maintenance because they can easily afford the things you can't. Maybe consider that too while you trying to decide, do I want to play this game? Because anniversary is not just the only holiday as we going to go into, during the week, but it's an important one, because it marks a lot of special occasions all in one for people, you know. It marks a summation of all my emotion, the things that I feel for you, the moments that are making us bond. I'm celebrating our first kiss. I'm celebrating our first dance. I'm celebrating meeting your children, all these special moments. I'm celebrating meeting your family because I'm interested in you. Like I said, even if it doesn't lead to early marriage, anniversaries are a big part of dating. It's not just a wedding anniversary, so find out what type of interests your dates have. And notice I said dates. Some of you out here want to date a lot of people. And some people out here dating a lot of people are liked by a lot of people. They're making moments with people. They'll take all 8 people to see a show because their pockets can afford it. They'll buy all 8 of you things every week because their pockets can afford it, you know. So you got to be careful of the gifts that you receive. They're not just, here, baby, yeah, we've been going out a week, we've been going out a month, whatever the occasion. If you're dating someone who's serial dating, it might not have the same value for them as it does for you because they're sharing this part of their heart with other people where you may be only sharing this part of your heart with this person. I always tell y'all, be careful of how you share your heart and know how the other person sharing their heart back. Some of you think, oh, this person gave me a gift. This is getting serious. When they doing this to everybody in their lives. So be careful of the attention and the emotion that you attach to a gift, how you try to correlate it to how someone feels about you. Sometimes a gift is just that. Somebody likes you as a person and they see something they think that you can have and they can afford it. It's like it's nothing. And if you gotta struggle to get that thing, don't place your value of money on that saying, oh my God, they did all this for me, they must love me. No, this was like a nickel to them, where it's like $60,000 to you. So know a person's financial situation relative to the gifts you're getting. Sometimes the person who has the least amount of money is giving you the biggest gift relative to their income. Sometimes they're investing 20% of what they earn for the week just to spend $50 on you. And you chuck their gift to the side. Somebody comes along who can buy you a $600 gift, but they doing it for everybody, and you treat them like they have such value. That's one of my pet peeves when I see that in people. You place value on the money instead of the effort, the heart involved, the work involved. That's why I say it's important, as we talked about in dating one or more, know what's going on. Just because you vibing one and one with someone, it doesn't mean they love you the same way. Even if they're celebrating anniversaries with you. Maybe your sex is that good and they're in a good situation with you. You know, some you'd be surprised, like we say, all the reasons people get with you and date you that have nothing to do with really you. You know, so pay attention to that too, and they'll celebrate with you, and they'll share with you, and they'll have no intentions of going down the path your head's going down. This don't be their own path that's all in your fucking head. And they're thinking about the time they're gonna spend tomorrow with the next person that they're doing this same shit they're doing today with you. You know, if you're lucky enough to have some discerning ways and in order to reveal things in people to find out, you know, what's really going on. And if they, I always say, if they run away mad from questions, and this person's more than likely not for you. If you sitting in a room with someone that you're dating and you ask them, you know, like, are you dating other people? And you get a reaction like, nah, see, that's what I'm talking about. See, there's some bull. What the fuck? You don't need to be dating that person more than likely, unless you like being roughed up and disrespected. And that type of reaction normally is a root of someone who's guilty of everything that you just questioned, you know. So why not find out right away? Why wait 6 months, 8 months to catch them in a situation? Ask the direct questions, you know, pay attention to the responses. I talk about that all the time. You know, what's important to you? Are you dating other people? Do you have ask him. Go on a date. Y'all know my tips. How you doing? It's nice to meet you. Yes, I really vibing with you, you know, into the date. I'm feeling you. Yeah, I think I might want to spend some more time with you. I might want to get to know you a little better. I might want to ask you some more questions. You know, they do. Oh, you want to? We extending the date tonight. Let's talk about some of this stuff. You know, why not ask? Are you dating other people? I don't have a problem with it. Oh, you are. I see. Okay, that's cool. You know, what type of things do they all have in common? You know, is there a particular type of pattern you have in people? And do you have like tight relationships with all of them? Y'all go out, y'all go on dates, you buy them gifts, you know, all that shit. Fluff it up. Don't make it look like you crazy, but get into the conversation. Ask. Everybody getting a teddy bear? Like who are you? It's okay to know so you know how to protect your heart if you in situations like this. Like I said, because some niggas out there can buy you a car and your heart be fluttering and you done ran in the house and told everybody he the one. This nigga done bought me a car and he guess what? Tomorrow he's buying somebody else a car. You know, so really pay attention to how you celebrate things with people. They don't and don't just think about the monetary value. Think about what comes with that. You know, some people celebrate things with you and they're a little off the rocker. You know, we got those kind of dates that want to celebrate. Oh my God, I met you yesterday. I want to celebrate day two. I want to celebrate day three. I want to celebrate day four. You know, be careful of people who are too into you as well because they are out there. You know, look for those signs too. You know, their whole apartment is plastered in you on like your seventh date. You know, your third date, they bought you a house. Like some shit you shouldn't do. This is not an anniversary gift that you should be taking. You know, some of you out there be like, it ain't gonna hurt nobody. Oh, well, this nigga know what they doing. Don't be mad at me if you give it to me, but you knew what you was doing. Yeah, I know what I'm doing when I beat you the fuck up too. They be knowing what they doing then too. They be knowing what they doing too when they lock you in the basement and say, bitch, I bought you this house and you're gonna live in it. Talking about, oh, well, you bought me this house. I can bring anybody I want to this house. Guess what? You can't bring nobody to the house now because You tied in the fucking cellar. You don't let a nigga buy you a house after 3 days and call it an anniversary gift of 3 days knowing you, and then think you're gonna bring somebody else to the house. You and try that. Oh, I've only been knowing you 3 days. Bullshit. You hello? Are you you can't possibly think you were gonna get away with that one. The most sensitive and insensitive people combined know that you can't get away with that one. You have to remember your audience, who you're dealing with, and really put some type of sensibility to it all. Not necessarily hard timelines, but you gotta know appropriateness of celebrating anniversaries and what type of people you're fucking with. You know, sometimes you can reveal a personality just through celebrating anniversaries. Anniversaries. Oh, that was a fun word. Anniversaries. I'm going to have to look that up, or maybe I'll try using it. I'm celebrating the day I met you at university. You have people out here that things matter to them that don't matter to you. That's the bottom line. So while you out here in this dating pool, as I always say, try to be kind, try to be considerate. Don't let nobody fuck with you though. If it don't feel good, get away from it. If it feel good, and like I say, you're adults and you're consenting, I don't see the harm in having fun. Um, we're under half an hour. We're well under, and I like it this way. I'm gonna wrap this up by saying, like I said in the beginning, anniversaries can play a major role in dating. Anniversaries can determine whether or not you get monkey ass, whether or not monkey ass gets cut off, whether or not you're going into the doghouse for the night, whether or not you have to make something up. There's so many people place so many valued um, thoughts on anniversaries and what they mean to them. There was a time where the word anniversary used to be associated to a yearly celebration, thus the ANN, like an annual. But someone has chosen to change that definition to it could be any fucking day and 50 days in the same year. I'm celebrating a week with you. I'm celebrating a month with you. You know, um, if you want to fuck with that, there's nothing wrong with it. I've been very romantic at points in my life and I pretty much just enjoying my people. So whatever they want to celebrate, it's cool with me. Cause to me, we should be celebrating every day as a loving day anyway. I don't need to pick a day to do the right thing or give you a gift or tell you I love you. I try to put that out there all the time, not in a way that's like I'm slobbering, but always remind, my mate how I feel about her. This is the day that I laid eyes on you and you changed my life. This is the day that we laid eyes on each other. You know, if they matter to her, they matter to me. And luckily I have that in the same direction. And hopefully you all out there will too. And on that note, huh, this has been Cass Allen on Play With It. Y'all have a good day and a good night.